and some draws just have to ignore the presence of Supreme Bird in the opposing deck.
Well, we are underway, everybody. Cloudfin Raptor will start things off here for West. Belfatto's going to take a draw. It's going to be a Temple of Silence to start things off for him. He's going to leave the card on top and pass it back. So we'll see if West can evolve on turn 2.
It looks like he kept a hand without a third land, and his second land is a Mutavault, so he has 2 Raptors now, and he's going to keep the bird loose and
get in
ready
there.
to go.
That's
yeah.
right, get in there. You know what you're supposed to do, Bird. Holophant going to come and play untapped here for Belfi. Going to knock him down to 18. And pass back. So West will take a draw here.
Does draw a third land critically, but still not able to evolve his Raptors as...
Oh, attack for 0 yet again. I like it. You got to keep them honest. Let them know where they stand. Here's a Thassa. I don't think this is going to resolve.
I'm not a huge fan of giving him the option of using an Azorius Charm there if he was feeling so inclined.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
That is true.
Probably low harm overall.
And there's Syncopate to take care of the Blue God. Water Grave going to come into play tapped here for Belfatto. I'm going to pass the turn back over here to West with just 2 Cloudfin Raptors. Judge's Familiar, the card drawn here for Zach. And now here is a Judge's Familiar. Will this resolve? Looks like it may not. And it won't, so Essence Scatter going to take care of the bird. Those Raptors are still weak.
Michael's come equipped with a lot of counter spells for this party.
Yeah, we don't see this many counter spells in the Esper deck. We see Syncopate and Essence Scatter in the main deck. A lot of people just playing, in between 2 to 3 copies of Dissolve and calling it a day. Now you see West is considering, okay, do I want to Rapid Hybridization something? Maybe I just attack with a Mutavault. Attack with a Mutavault is what he's going to do. He's going to put Belfatto down to 16 and pass the turn back. So Belfatto is going to draw a card for the turn. We'll see what he finds. It's a Temple of Silence. Going to keep that card on top. Going to pass the turn back. So West will take a draw. You see a Frostburn Weird. There's also a Jace, another copy of Thassa hanging out over there. Looks like we're going to try to establish the Weird here. It's going to be another counterspell. Okay, this is going to resolve. So Evolution on both of those Raptors is complete. And he'll attack for 2. I might see an Azorius Charm here, which would be kind of a backbreaker. Yep, that's what we're going to see. So on top goes 1 Raptor. 1 point of damage will come across. Belfatto will be down to 15. And he's doing a nice job of controlling this game.
Yeah, although if there's any positive that Zachary can take away from that turn, is unlikely that he's getting hit with a Supreme Verdict if he was willing to use an Azorius Charm that way. Although this is possibly bad for Zachary. As you see Blood Baron added to the table.
I wouldn't love my spot here if I was Zachary West. Haven't really got to get anything going this game. A couple counter spells and Azorius Charm time walking me. My opponent's at 15 when they resolve their Blood Baron as opposed to, under 10 or anything like that. You see the Raptor's going to come across, going to deal 1 more, going to put Belfatto down to 14. And now Thassa is going to resolve. So the Devotion check is at 4, but it's got a long way to go here. Thassa is definitely a step in the right direction, though.
No, and he's threatening Devotion, and that's a really important thing to be doing against control decks. You need to make it, even if you don't have Devotion right away, that the control deck always has to react with the threat of you assembling Devotion.
All right, well, Blood Baron comes across. Now here is a Jace post-combat. The troublesome blue Planeswalker is going to tick down. There's a Revelation. There's a Detention Sphere, and another Revelation. Alrighty then. So Sphere versus Revelations, I think the only split that you can make, and that's not the best feeling in the world if they're picking up. I guess whichever one he picks up, you're not happy about, right?
Yeah, it's not good either way.
I was going to say picking up the Detention Sphere is not so bad, but that cleans out your Thassa, and then you're like, okay, I don't really have anything going on besides this Thassa, so just a good chase, honestly.
Yeah.
Which, surprise, surprise, Jace is a good card.
And now Zachary is it's really a race against time now. Is if those Revelations get time to resolve, that Michael's going to have a really hard time losing this game. So
see, as West is going to scry with his Thassa, we just saw Kenan Haas in the house here.
Yep.
Legacy champion from a couple weeks ago. Talked to him a little bit earlier in the day, said, I'm not playing any Standard. I'm getting ready for Legacy tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in Jund Depths, he's in the house looking to defend, I guess we could say defend the title, even though it wasn't here.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
That's a title.
Yeah.
He has the Midwest Legacy title, let's call it.
All right, we can call it that. He's here. He's got the belt. See an island here off the top for West, so he can cast the Jace that's in his hand. Can do a couple different things here, honestly. But he's got some things to worry about where Belfatto was willing to take 2 damage for that Hallowed Fountain to come into play, representing, you know, Counter Spell, Doomblade, Ultimate Prize, Azorius Charm. A lot of things that can break up Devotion. Coffin Raptor is where West is going to start things.
Now Thassa is officially turned on.
There's your island.
But Michael putting that Hallowed Fountain into play on tap, just representing so many different tricks here.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, attacking is scary at this point. What spell you cast is really scary. You've seen 2 counter spells in Syncopate and, Essence Scatter, so you don't really know what the composition of. You just know that your opponent's playing Esper, but you can put him on just a wide range of different things. All right, so we've got some attacks going some different places. We'll get confirmation on exactly where those attacks are going from our table spotter, so we can let you guys know. You see Belfatto's going to tap some mana here, so there's an Azorius Charm. Looks like he's going to take care of that Frostburn weird.
These exchanges are so rough for Zachary. It's, you know, he's struggling to keep his foothold in this game here, and so many different annoying tricks for him to try to fight against.
Yeah, you have to imagine that Mike has gotten an edge over the course of this tournament. You see Mutavault is going at Mike, the other two, the 2 creatures are going at Jace. But you have to imagine that Belfatto has gotten an edge over this tournament with just kind of the weird configuration of his deck. You know, with Essence Scatter, with Syncopate, and Lord knows what else hiding out in there. Let's see a rapid hybridization take place. It's going to target Thassa. Thassa won't die, of course, because it is indestructible. What he's doing there is he's making a token. It's a 3/3 that allows his Coffin Raptor to evolve to actually finish off the Jace with the necessary amount of damage.
And so that was a pretty sweet play there by Zachary, because no matter which creature Michael uses Azorius Charm on, if it was the Coffin Raptor, then he could just simply pump the weird. And if it was the weird, then he has this angle as well. So
it's a good attack.
Yeah, pretty crafty setup there from Zachary.
Now, he's done a nice job of taking care of Jace. The problem is that he's got an opponent who has 2 copies of Sphinx Revelation in his hand and a Blood Baron that's coming into the red zone. I think that's the bigger problem at this point.
The bigger problem is everything else.
Yeah.
That was a really good attack, but we'll see if that's enough for him to keep his head above water here.
So Blood Baron coming on in. And now what we could see is a double block here. And that's what we're going to see. And one removal spell really does blow this up. And it looks like Belfatto does have one. It's an Azorius Charm to take care of the token. And
to be fair, I actually do like that double block from Zachary.
Okay.
It's so hard for him to beat a removal spell at this stage of the game anyway that it's a window. If Michael's hand is all in, he actually has a shot. And if Michael spends his turn using mana to use a removal spell there, it means he's not revving that turn at least. So yeah. I know that attack or that double block looks bad on the surface because the odds are so high that Michael does have a removal spell. But I think that's a reasonable chance for Zachary to roll the dice and have some long ball chance of actually getting that Blood Baron off the table.
Jace, Architect of Thought, put onto the stack. See if this is going to resolve or not. It will. And it's going to start at 4. We'll see if it's going to go up or down next turn here. Most importantly, Thassa is on board now. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm sorry. Devotion's at 4, not 5. My apologies. So it's going to go down. Ugh. Island, Coffin Raptor. Yuck. Island's going to go to the hand. Coffin Raptor's going to go to the bottom. Devotion count, again, is at 4. 2 from Jace, 1 from Thassa, 1 from the Raptor.
Yeah, there's a little glare on the screen there, but that's a 2/3 Coffin Raptor.
Here's a Revelation, a baby one. I guess when you already have a second one in the grip, you're more than willing to cycle.
I mean, to me, that almost feels like you must have a third copy.
Sure.
Because a rev for 3 isn't so big that you're willing to fire off 1 for 1. His hand could also just be totally loaded, and he can imagine just, I'm not really going to have a chance to use mana for the rest of the game.
Coffin Raptor is going to jump in front of Blood Baron to save Jace. Don't forget, Belfatto is going to gain 4 life from that attack. He's going to go up to 23. There's a Temple of Deceit to start the second main phase. We'll see if he has a spell to play. The answer looks like a resounding yes. And it's a good one. It's a copy of Aetherling, which in this matchup you can safely play. Just like this, with the shields down, because Mono Blue doesn't really have any rule spells. They have Cyclonic Rift, and there could be another Rapid Hybridization hanging out there for Zachary West, but you've already used one.
Yeah.
So I think if this gets taken care of, it's no big deal if you're Belfatto, because you have a Revelation in your hand.
Yeah, that's the thing here. He has just another Haymaker, and it's actually pretty powerful in this spot for him to even just get a 3/3. That body means something right now, and it's another card that he has to potentially keep or look for with Thassa. So at this point, Michael is so far ahead that the only thing he's concerned about is using all of his mana each turn. If he's getting the best card text for card text exchange, that doesn't really matter. He has a big rev left over to gas back up.
Jace turns over 3 lands, 2 islands, and a copy of Mutavault. Mutavault's the card that does go to West's grip. The rest are going to go to the bottom, and you see Zach's hand right now. He does have 2 copies of Frostburn Weird, so he can turn on Thassa, but it sure is unexciting to do so.
Yeah, Michael's gained so much life from this Blood Baron. And now even if he comes up the ground a little bit, he still has to deal with the Aetherling, which is unblockable.
Well, it's almost like, no sense in holding back now. You have to try to start dealing some damage, because what are the chances that Aetherling's going to actually get the block next turn? Seems pretty low. Or excuse me, the chance that Thassa does.
Zachary is just straight up rocking a hard place right now. Racing is almost a fool's errand at this point, but he can't really hold back on defense as well.
So an attack for 5 is going to put Belfatto down to 18. And as you see him untap all that land and that Blood Baron that's been integral to this game, he draws his card, 3 cards in hand, one of which is the Sphinx's Revelation. Right now the Revelation could be 4. If he plays land, it could be for 5. But as you mentioned, West is just in a rock and a hard place. Those 2 threats that are in play are so very hard to beat once they've resolved and the player gets untapped with them. And so now Aetherling's going to go to unblockable. Into the red zone is where Belfatto's going to go. You see West doesn't seem so thrilled about it.
You see Michael with another Blood Baron in hand, which allows him to cast Blood Baron and leave a blue mana left over to protect Aetherling.
Possibly blink it out and put it back in.
Yeah, sure, whichever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mutavault going to be on chump blocking duty. Belfatto going to go up to 22. I will say, Esper's looked really good when it's been on the camera this weekend.
Like I said, at the start of the broadcast, I think a well-tuned Esper list is an excellent choice for this weekend.
It just seems like its natural enemies aren't really here right now. And if you're comfortable in your mono-black matchup, this deck can be really, really good.
The metagame is just in a pretty stable place right now, That's the big thing.
Yeah. You know the threats, so presumably you know what answers you have to play to what threats exist.
And Zachary, to his credit, is really battling here. I mean, you can tell he's really trying hard to find some angle here, but the card quality discrepancy at this stage of the game is just too much.
Yeah, you can't get to this point in the game when you're mono blue. Unless your opponent's like 10 or something like that, that's one way you can steal it. But even then, it's a little bit difficult to do with 2 Blood Barons out there. But it's sitting at 22. It's so tough to come back here. You see Tidebinder Mage is going to come into play. No targets there. And Thassa is going to play defense just past the turn back with his Devotion live. Belfatto's going to untap everything. Take a draw. Again, he does have a copy of the Sphinx's Revelation in his hand, but he hasn't even had to cast it. That's how well he's doing this game.
Yeah, at this point, it's just more efficient for him to use his mana.
Oof. Yeah. There's a D-Spear to take down 2 copies of Frostburn, which is going to shut off Thassa. And I'd say that Mike was already kind of in the driver's seat, and now he's certainly in it. He's going to attack with everything, and Zachary West is going to scoop up his permanent. So Mike Belfatto is going to win game number 1 here. Esper Control up a game over Mono Blue Devotion, in which many consider Esper Control to have a very good matchup against Mono Blue Devotion. It's a little closer than it may appear. We'll see if West does have some things to bring in to make it better.
Well, you have West's sideboard in front of you, I believe.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the 2 dissolves to go along with the Binding of Thassa. I think those are a good place to start. Domestication, going to hang out on the bench. Jace Architect of Thought, go along with his 2 in his main deck, so he can work up to a 3rd one, so that's probably going to join us. We got 4 copies of Gainsay. We'll come back to those in just a second. I'll talk about the Curse of the Swine that's going to stay in the board, Rapid Hybridization going to stay in the board, along with 3 copies of Ratchet Bomb and Cyclonic Rift. All cards that are probably going to hang out in the sideboard. For Gainsay in this matchup, again, we kind of saw this a little bit earlier against Blue-White when we watched Jack Fogle play against Mike Williams. You do have targets, but, you know, what's the density of counterspells you do want to have, especially in this matchup where they're not just blue and white. There's a third color to be worried about here.
Yeah, I mean, the black in this matchup is basically just Blood Baron. You see Zachary lay out 7 cards right now as he's sideboarding. To me, that indicates he's bringing in 2 Dissolves, a Biden, and 4 Gainsays, or possibly 3 Gainsays plus the Chase.
Okay.
Which, you know, a lot of it depends on how much he's siding out. How many anti-creature cards he has in his main deck. He has 1 Rapid Hybridization, 2 Cyclonic Rift. I don't know, I still feel like that might be too many reactive cards, but we're seeing the mono blue list just sort of sideboard this way. It appears to be the industry standard.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just citing in a lot of counterspells right now, maybe producing their clock a little bit too much. Not too sure, but we'll see how this second and potentially third game does play out.
Yeah, and the thing is, the blue deck doesn't really have a different way to sideboard, right?
Yeah.
There's not really any other options. Michael, similar to the blue-white list we had on camera last round, has a bit of a conversion sideboard himself, where he can bring in 4 copies of Night Veil Spectre, along with 3 copies of Soldier of the Pantheon. He has 2 Dispels, a Blood Baron, a Negate, a Hero's Downfall, 2 Thoughtseizes, and a Doomblade. I think you'll see the Doomblade, the Hero's Downfall, and the Blood Baron certainly. I'm not sure if he wants to go to Night Veil Spectre. That might be more of a plan for mirror matches, but sometimes it's nice to be able to just convert into more creatures in general, force Zachary to have to develop his board even further to push through it, and then get more value out of your Supreme Verdict.
And while we do watch both players shuffle up, if you guys are just joining us at home, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, StarCityGames.com Open Series has made its way to Columbus, Ohio. We do appreciate you joining us here in round 7 of 10 in our Standard Open. Don't forget, later tonight, we've got our quarterfinals to do, which means our first premium giveaway. We'll do 3 months then. Tomorrow morning, when we do start bright and early, 8 a.m. East Coast time, we'll give away 6 months in our semifinals, the full year in our finals, and then we're going to do some legacy action. Again, Kenan Haas, he's hanging out watching his friends play some Standard, but he will be here tomorrow playing Jun Depps, our Indianapolis champion. Maybe he can run it back. Maybe we can call him a 2-time champion.
So you've been playing this deck a little bit online in your streams, that's correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
How are you enjoying it?
I like it a lot. I just like decks that kind of play that way, but I'm also a big fan of Life in the Loam. There are times where I wish I did have a Cycling Land or 2, because again, I really do like the Tranquil Thicket kind of draw engine with that deck. But you're not a traditional lands deck, because you don't have like Exploration and Mana Bond and things like that. So you're just like a controlling strategy that does have a lot of lands. And I mean, there's a lot of value that goes on in the deck, so it makes it a lot of fun with Entomb, getting Nether Spirit and Squee and everything else that you can do. It's complicated. I'm still learning a lot. But when we were watching him play, and you guys at home may have seen him win the title in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago, you could see that he knew what he was doing every step of the way. And I don't feel like I'm even close to that.
Yeah, no, I think his match in the finals especially was something where a lot of players would have lost that game 3 that he won. That one sticks out to me as showing a lot of experience with the deck and a lot of expertise with the format in general.
He felt very comfortable in that matchup against Split Red Delver. And I do think that's one of the better matchups. So if you want a deck that can help, that is actually good against Split Red Delver, which is one of the most popular decks in the format, I think this is certainly a step to go. But it feels like, some of your matchups are very difficult to win, and then some of your matchups are very easy to win. So you're playing this deck that is, great against some of the more popular decks, great against fair decks. And when you're playing against an unfair deck, I know I played against Sneak and Show once. Ugh. Not even close.
Yeah, Legacy has there's a lot of decks like that that have really overpowering game plans against a percentage of the field, and then some of the other matchups are just, your deck looks like a joke based on the other cards that are getting played.
And that's the really tough part. You see, Judges Million is where we're going to start here with, the Jun Depps deck is, again, there are times where you look like your deck is unbeatable, and there are other times where you are quite beatable from a Storm player, for example. Judges Million are going to come into the red zone. Going to play Cloud from Raptor past the turn back Will West. And you see here for West, he does play a Mutavault as his second land, so there will not be a Night Veil Spectre showing up. And you can see a Frostboomer in his hand right now. And it's like Cyclonic Rift still in his hand, a little bit surprising.
Yeah. Pretty poor hand. I mean, it needs an island to go anywhere, and then, which he did draw for him. But still just no real, this hand has no real resistance to Supreme Verdict besides his Mutavault, which is the big problem here. It's not a bad curve of creatures, but it's not going to be fast enough to beat a copy of Supreme Verdict, and it has no durability against it either.
Perhaps your plan is to hope they don't have it.
Yes.
Which isn't the best plan in the world. Although hope is not a strategy.
Although Michael playing an island untapped there actually is not a terrible sign for you, as he actually has to have an untapped white source of mana next turn to Supreme Verdict, which the deck doesn't have a ton of. So it's possible Michael's bluffing here. It's possible he needs to play the third land untapped for something like Dissolve or an Azorius Charm and paying for the Judge's Familiar, whatever the case may be. But there's a little bit of hope for Zachary here.
You see Zachary's going to get in the red zone with everybody, pump up the Frostmourne and leave a Gainsay up in case it's Jason. There is a Plains. I got a feeling, yeah, we're going to see a Supreme Verdict.
And the Scourge of Mono Blue rears its ugly head yet again.
Can't Gainsay that. That's for sure.
Pumps his Frostburn Mirror one time on the way out.
It's just a good thing he didn't activate his Mutavault, that's all. So, Belfie's going to reset everything with him at 13. You see West draws an island for the turn. So now the big question is, does he want to establish a Nightveil Spectre, maybe Master of Waves? He does want to go with the Spectre and pass the turn. Because this is one matchup where you can certainly overvalue how good Master of Waves is.
Oh, for sure, yeah. If you actually win the game with it, it's a small miracle.
There's a Detention Sphere. Get that Nightveil Spectre out of here. Looks like Belfatto has a decent amount of basics in his deck. Wow, he's got a lot of basics. 5 islands and 2 plains. That's a lot for Esper.
Yeah, I mean, he's only playing a single Hero's Downfall, so he's maybe a little lighter on black sources than most.
Okay. Here's a Doomblade.
And I don't know, this is, I'm not trying to weigh in authoritatively either way, but these last 2 matches we've had blue on camera, these mono blue on camera against a control deck, these gainsays have just not gotten the job done.
I don't like him in these matchups at all. Again, the thing is I don't want to play this reactive game against this counter silvers type strategy when Wrath is uncounterable. If it was actual Wrath of God or Day of Judgment, then you would play negates instead of gainsays. Yeah, then it's a little bit different, but you can't get in front of your opponent and then your plan to be counter the Wrath when the Wrath is obviously uncounterable. That's the problem I have with the strategy of bringing in gainsay. You're also kind of fighting over the wrong thing, right? When you bring in gainsay, I think your inclination is that I want to fight over either A, Jace, or B, Sphinx of Revelation. But why don't you just put enough pressure on your opponent? Sphinx of Revelation just isn't a realistic strategy. That's what I would want to do. You see, Syncopate's going to take care of the gainsay. Ugh. Oh, my.
Yeah, Michael played his dual lane untapped before resolving Jace. You can see Zachary almost didn't even want to bother gainsaying it because he knew it was just going to get countered back and maybe he could fight a different battle, but...
You see Jace ticks up to 5, so if Mutavault's feeling a little frisky, it's only going to be able to get to deal 1 point of damage, effectively doing nothing. And, these are the games here where if you're mono blue in this particular matchup, you just got to pressure and make it so that, if they're going to have Supreme Verdict, they have to have the white source or something like we saw earlier this game. But it's all about pressuring them and kind of pacing the game in your favor if you can. Here's a Nightveil Spectre from West. He's going to pass the turn back. But as you mentioned, in the 2 matches that we've just seen, the one between Fogel and Williams, now this one here between West and Belfatto, mono blue hasn't even looked, close in these games. Jace is going to minus show you Detention Sphere, negate, and a Godless Shrine. And it might just have to do with the plan that they're making after sideboard.
Yeah. And it's possible if you go back to that third turn, Michael played that island on purpose because of the Plains gambit. The deck doesn't have a lot of untapped white sources. If he had an island and a Plains in his hand that turn, it's unquestionably better to play the island because it could compel Zachary to overextend into that Supreme Verdict.
Oh, you could easily reel him in. Easily.
I would have gotten reeled in that spot. I would have said, okay, the odds are low.
The odds are low, or if you do have it, you have to take 2 to do it.
Right.
Yeah. What are the chances he has a basic Plains? Well, it's pretty high.
He has 2 of them, as it turns out. In that spot, for example, it might actually be better to play an island untapped than play a Godless Shrine if you have a Godless Shrine and just take 2 off the Shrine. Yep. Because the upside is so high.
Here's a Bide Nefasa. That's going to resolve, but no creatures in play right now as Detention Spheres are taking care of those Nightveil Spectres. Now, don't forget, West does have a Cyclonic Rift in his hand as Jace is going to tick down. So there's a Temple of Deceit, there's a Watery Grave, and there's a Nightveil Spectre from Belfatto. Spectre versus, I believe, is what the piles are going to be. That is confirmed now, so 2 lands are going to go to the bottom.
So Michael did decide to convert a little bit in the post-board games here.
And Spectre's interesting because it's obviously good on offense against the mono blue deck when you have blue mana, but it's a good defensive tool as well.
Yeah.
See Gainsay to go along with the Rift right now and Master. And, you know, one thing that, you know, just from a teaching perspective for a moment, but one thing to keep in mind, too, is that when you watch a player draw their sideboard cards, not have them have a very large impact, as we're seeing here with the Gainsays from West, it's time to kind of reevaluate. And that's one thing that you can kind of do when you're at home. You have the benefit of the Tension Sphere is going to be bounced, or at least attempt to be bounced here via Cyclonic Rift, so that West can block the Nightveil Spectre. But if you draw the cards that are in your 15 in your sideboard, you know, the goal is to have those 15 cards be very high impact cards, and Gainsay's just not having very high impact here.
Yeah.
So it's time to block.
I mean, it's just predicated on Zachary being on the front foot, which is hard to do if he's playing around Supreme Verdict as well.
Yeah.
It's just kind of disjointed.
3 mana. And we're just going to see a D-Sphere, but it's going to try to take care of the Bident. Well, this is a time to actually use that Gainsay, I think. He asked Belfatto, how many cards do you have in your hand? But I don't think it matters too much. You're going to fire off Gainsay because it's not going to get much better. And you need that Bident to win, or at least try to climb your way back into this game.
Yeah. I mean, this is he's got a real engine in play now. If this Nightveil Spectre is actually able to do anything.
Interesting draw there with the Nykthos. Devotion count is 5. All right. Fire up Mutavault. Let's see where we attack. Let's see if Belfatto's reaching for mana. This feels like an Azorius Charm. It's actually a Doomblade to take care of the Mutavault. So that's going to resolve. Oh, is this an Azorius Charm too? Oh, goodness. Oh my god. And now the Spectre, the Spectre can take the Spectre off the top of the deck. Me oh my.
Michael with some really efficient turns.
Yeah. I mean, every turn it felt like in this matchup we've watched, he's used all of his mana every turn and has just kind of destroyed his opponent every step of the way.
Yep.
Spectre gonna push in, nudge into the red zone.
Just a little nudge.
Yeah. Your Spectre I would like to have. And so he's gonna cast that Spectre now. Belfatto hasn't used Jace quite yet, but he will tick it up now. And comfortably pass the turn back. You can tell that he's comfortable with his Esper deck, and he's playing a different build of Esper too. You know, this isn't a version that we've really seen with a lot of basics and not a lot of double black cards, so you're not putting a huge strain on your mana base.
It's very lean.
But it just kind of goes to show you that but it's crazy for me to think that this is almost 2 years ago when he won that Open when we were in Columbus in this convention center with Esper. See, Belfatto's going to untap everything here. Master of Waves does resolve here for Zachary West. We'll see how long that's going to stay around.
And these Nightveil Spectres, there's so many insane cards for him to hit right now, too. He's, of course, no end of blue mana, so.
Yeah, imagine if he hits a Master of Waves. Just for example. Rather tame attack here, which is hitting a Cloud from Raptor and an Island. Island going to come into play for Belfatto. We'll see if he wants to cast a Raptor, maybe use Jace first. He is going to minus Jace, turn over another copy of Jace, a Doomblade to take care of the Master, and a Temple of Silence. So Doomblade
is just brutal here.
Yep.
Zachary maybe had some long ball shot, but now
Jace does a nice job of closing windows. There's Doomblade to take care of the Master of Waves. It's going to leave West with just a Bident in play. Esper's looked good today.
Oh, it has.
I think you had it right on the money. It has looked really, really strong today. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe some copies of that or blue-white control in the top 8. I know we've watched Mono Black kind of do its thing, but every time we've had Esper on camera, it has really looked dominant. So here's a kind of a baby revelation from Belfatto.
Yeah, I mean, Michael can reasonably expect to have better things to do with his mana off of just the Nightveil Spectre.
Yeah.
So, you know, Michael has had a very strict tap out every turn policy that he's been adhering to thus far. So, when we get spoiled, 3 cards is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, sure.
3's still a lot.
We're used to big revelations for 5 or 6 or even more than that. It almost seems like a 3 is just nothing. Because Patrick, at 6 mana, you get opportunity. Why would you play Sphinx's Revelation? Duh.
Because sometimes you have 5 or 10 mana. And there's the lock right there. Is the counter spell off of the Night Veil Spectre. Hoisted by his own petard.
It's a rough way to go. 2 islands here for West. Just has to pass the turn back yet again. Belfatto going to untap those Spectres. One that does belong to West, doing him in.
I haven't had this experience myself, of course, because of the decks that I play. I have to imagine having your own counterspell underneath an opposing Night Veil Spectre is the most horrible feeling imaginable.
It's a humbling way to go. It really is. You see Biden's guys activate Biden.
In case Michael forgot to attack, Zachary.
Yeah. I'll help you out. Island over this way. Master waves that way. Okay. Okay. Now you can just turn on the yakety sax.
All right, well, he's got a fully devoted Thassa and a Master Waves.
Do we have enough elemental tokens for that?
I think this is, let's see here, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and he can hold up the Dissolve. Okay, Zachary's.
You think it's 11?
I think
6, 9, 10, 11, Raptor, 12, Jace, 13, 14. There's a D-Sphere.
It's a lot.
There's a Jace, there's a Raptor.
That's 4.
There were 3 Night Veil Spectres.
Oh, yeah, there's the third one. No, I thought, well, whatever. Yeah, 14.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I forgot on the third Night
More
Veil
elemental
Spectre.
tokens, I think,
It's a
that we
lot.
have in the building.
It was a humiliating, lopsided crushing.